Another great show coming your way on today's Philadelphia Eagles Now. Hope you're all having a fantastic weekend by the time that you watch this show. Will the Eagles this offseason trade backup quarterback Tanner McKee? We're also going to open up the floor and take your questions for a Philadelphia Eagles Now mailbag. Always love chopping it up with all of the real ones and loyal supporters of this show. I do want to begin here, though. Super Bowl 60's in the rear view. The 2025 season came and went. Now we're in the offseason. Little bit of a dull period up until the NFL Combine at the end of this month. After that, free agency, draft, can't wait for it. But if you're like me, and if you're missing Philadelphia Eagles football, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. I want at least 1,000 likes here on the program. All right, let's set the foundation with this Tanner McKee conversation by looking at the quarterback-needy teams this offseason. And keep in mind, these are quarterback-needy teams in an offseason where the quarterback class is very light, looking ahead to the 2026 NFL Draft, and the free agency crop, not that great either. There are a couple of intriguing trade options, which we'll talk about here in just a moment, but Tanner McKee could have some value if the Eagles do want to trade him away. So the Pittsburgh Steelers, are they going to roll with Will Howard? Will they bring back Aaron Rodgers? The Miami Dolphins, I think Tua's time there is done, even with this new coaching staff. Is it going to be Quinn Ewers as their QB1 this upcoming season? New York Jets, they don't have a quarterback. Justin Fields was never going to work out. Minnesota Vikings, a disaster for that organization, seeing what Sam Darnold did with Seattle, leading the Seahawks to a Super Bowl. Arizona Cardinals, dumpster fire of an organization. Will they trade away Kyler Murray? Will this new coaching staff be interested in retaining Kyler Murray? Las Vegas Raiders, they're on this list, but they're going to draft Fernando Mendoza to pair him up with Clint Kubiak, the new head coach and former OC for Seattle. Atlanta Falcons, they're going to release Kirk Cousins before the new league year. And Michael Penix is coming off a torn ACL. Plus, I don't think that Penix fits what Kevin Stefanski wants to do. You have the Cleveland Browns. Will Todd Monken go with Shedeur Sanders? Or, I can't believe I'm saying this, but there's chatter. Is Deshaun Watson going to be the Browns quarterback this season? And then the Indianapolis Colts. Daniel Jones played well to start the year for Shane Steichen, but he tore his Achilles. When is he going to come back this upcoming season? So with that, will the Eagles trade Tanner McKee this offseason? There's been some chatter about this across league circles. And going back to that point that I mentioned a little bit ago, it is a very light quarterback class, which has altered the quarterback market for this upcoming offseason. And I thought there was some potential for this quarterback class to be a deep one. Fernando Mendoza, Dante Moore, Lenora Sellers, if Drew Aller played well, if Garrett Nussmeier played well. Well, Aller broke his ankle, didn't play well, and Penn State was not good. Garrett Nussmeier had a bad 2025. LSU was a train wreck. Lenora Sellers, back to school, going back to South Carolina. And then Dante Moore returning to Oregon. So the second best quarterback in this draft class is Ty Simpson. And if you're a team like one of the ones that we just listed that needs a quarterback, and let's say you're in the top 10, you're in the top 15, you're a rebuilding team for the most part, right? Most likely. Overdrafting a quarterback could be the death nail for your organization. So that could lead to quarterback-needy teams looking to the trade market in order to acquire a quarterback. And Tanner McKee is pretty attractive in that way because he's still a young player as far as experience goes. He's shown some really nice things, being able to throw with touch, timing, accuracy, and anticipation. He's tall, sees the field well, is a smart guy, played his college football at Stanford, and when he's gotten opportunities in the preseason or in the regular season, he's shown some nice things. So the top quarterbacks this offseason, you have Fernando Mendoza in the draft. Malik Willis is the best free agency option. Kyler Murray, if you want to trade for him, but you got to take on a huge contract. With Tanner McKee, very cheap final year of his rookie deal. And if you wanted to sign him to an extension, you could get him for a pretty low price tag. And if he plays well, that ends up being a bargain. Aaron Rodgers, we're unsure of his future. Is he going to reunite with Mike McCarthy in Pittsburgh? And then there's Tua Tagovailoa, who doesn't have a strong arm, can't move well, and has the concussion problems. So ESPN put together an article looking at some quarterbacks who could get traded this offseason. Tanner McKee is listed here. The backup quarterback on Howie Roseman's roster is always in danger of being dealt. McKee typically looked strong in the preseason. He looked acceptable in 2 Week 18 starts while throwing to the Eagles' backups, not starters. He is an older prospect, will be 26 next year, but still has a developmental arc in that he has never seen extended game action. In a world where Will Howard might be starting for the Steelers, Quinn Ewers could be in for the Dolphins, McKee deserves a camp fight elsewhere. Of course, when you're talking about a potential Tanner McKee trade, you have to throw out the question of what could the Eagles get back for McKee? If he didn't struggle in Week 18, I thought maybe Tanner McKee could have gotten a second-round pick. And yeah, he struggled with an awful offensive coordinator throwing to backups. When he was linking up with Devontae Smith early in that game to get Smitty over 1,000, I thought he looked pretty good. But I think it hurt his value just a little bit. So right now, I think that Tanner McKee could get a third-round pick, which leads me to asking you this. Would you trade Tanner McKee for a third-rounder? Type T for trade, K for keep. Share your thoughts with me down in the comment section because we also know quarterback security, very important if Jalen Hurts were to ever go down. I'll answer your questions here in just a moment, but today's Philadelphia Eagles Now is brought to you by Prize Picks. Shoot your shot on Prize Picks and get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. That's right. Prize Picks is now giving you $50 in lineups when you sign up and play your first $5. Prize Picks makes every dunk, every dime, and every board that much more exciting. So don't miss the chance to get started on America's #1 app for sports picks. Prize Picks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you could definitely cash in. Pick from all of your favorite sports, anything from baseball, basketball, hockey, UFC, soccer, college hoops, tennis, golf, esports, football, and more. Find your community on Prize Picks as well. With the new social feeds feature, you can share Prize Picks with your friends and copy lineups from winners with a single click. Copy lineups you like or use them as inspiration for your own picks. You can even follow Prize Picks partners like us and tail or fade our picks with just one click. 3-pick power play. Myles Garrett, more on the sack number. Saquon Barkley, more on the rushing yards number for 2026. And then Justin Jefferson, more than 7.5 receiving touchdowns. It's as easy as that. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code CLNS. Get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, let's take some of your questions here. Andrew Nathan, great tush-push photo right there. Chase, Howie Roseman is an overcorrector. We need linebackers. He drafted 3. We need corners. He drafted 2. We need to get young on the offensive line. We should draft a tackle or guard in the draft like Proctor and Coogan for a center or guard. So Caden Proctor out of Alabama, Coogan, the Indiana center from this past year. And you're kind of right. I mean, with what Howie Roseman does, like he really values depth. He really values value. He's always going to go best player available. I really do think he's learned his lesson from that disastrous Jalen Reagor pick where he tried to get cute when in reality it's like, Howie, Justin Jefferson is on the board. Take Justin Jefferson. Well, what did he do in 2021? Eagles needed a wide receiver. Let's go with the guy who had one of the best single seasons in college football history, Devontae Smith. I know that he drafted Quinyon Mitchell out of Toledo, but Quinyon Mitchell, his final 2 years in college, had like more than 40 pass breakups. So he is an overcorrector. He also does a great job of having foresight, looking into the future and getting ahead of things, right? He had an idea and an inkling that Fletcher Cox was going to retire. Okay, we'll draft Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. He had an idea that Darius Slay was getting a little bit older and the Eagles had needs at corner. All right, let's double up on Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell. Jason Kelsey, he's getting toward the end of the road. Let's draft his replacement in Cam Jurgens. Let's have Jason Kelsey help us in the evaluation process. And Jason Kelsey really liked Cam Jurgens, right? You needed some pass rushers. Nolan Smith, Jay Licks Hunt. So I like Caden Proctor. I do think that the Eagles need to address the offensive line this offseason in the draft and or in free agency. And now you need to find that Lane Johnson replacement. You've seen how important he is to the organization. You win nearly 70% of your games with Lane Johnson. Winning percentage plummets to under 40% without Lane Johnson. Find his future replacement because you've been a different team in offense without him compared to with him. And Caden Proctor is a really good player. I had him going to the Eagles in my mock draft 1.0. 23rd overall pick. Cool Reigns! Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Oi, oi, oi. Who is your dream draft target? So I like Caden Proctor, but I would love Kenyon Sadiq to the Eagles. I think Kenyon Sadiq would be a terrific weapon on this Eagles offense. So that's one of my favorite dream draft targets for the Eagles. My other one would be Ruben Bain. He's a dream because I think he's going to go inside the top 10. Let me throw another player out there. How about Caleb Downs out of Ohio State? Eagles have a need at safety. If you were to let Reed Blankenship go and you could get Caleb Downs and you put him alongside Andrew Makuba, I really like that young safety tandem for the Eagles. Trey Losado, what did you think of Super Bowl 60? Early predictions for Super Bowl 61 based on the new logo. So me and the Chat Sports team had a great time in San Francisco for Super Bowl 60. We did some great coverage from Radio Row, did some really good interviews with some Patriots players, Seahawks players, Patriots coaches, Seahawks coaches. San Francisco's a really cool city. Like any other major city, the guts of the city, there are definitely some rough parts, and you have to have your head on a swivel. Early in the morning, they did a good job of spraying the sidewalks to get rid of some of the pee and poop on the sidewalks. That's what they do. But I will say, once you get to some of the scenic parts of the city, I went on some long runs to the Ferry Building, and then I took this beautiful running trail to Oracle Park, which is where the San Francisco Giants play, to the Chase Center, where the Warriors play. And as you're running alongside the water there, I mean, it's gorgeous. From a geographical standpoint, Chip and I were talking about this, it's crazy how the city is like in an area that is very hilly, and the elevation is what it is. I mean, you look down one block this way, and it's flat. Then you look to your right, and it just goes directly up. Food's good. Culturally, it's cool. A lot of fun things to do. As far as the game, I was not surprised at all, or surprised by it at all. I picked Seattle to win and I talked about this on the show, when I dissected the matchup and I looked at the Patriots and the Seahawks. I tried to find an area where New England was better. Couldn't really find it. And if you were to pick like the best 20 or 30 players from both teams, I think a lot of those players would be on Seattle. I just thought that Seattle had momentum going. They were playing like a wagon, and I thought their defense was going to overwhelm New England, and that's exactly what happened. As for Super Bowl 61, it's going to be in Inglewood, California, just outside of Los Angeles, at SoFi Stadium, where Saquon Barkley has run wild. If you're into the Super Bowl logo theory, it's that the colors of the logo always kind of picks the teams that will be playing in the Super Bowl. So with this one here, you see some Eagles potentially with that turquoise water. So if you go Eagles here, is it Eagles Chiefs again? Is it Eagles Broncos? Could it be Buccaneers Dolphins? Could it be Seahawks Chiefs? Seahawks Broncos? I'm trying to think of some other ones here. Could it be Bengals Eagles? Bengals Seahawks? Those are kind of the teams that come to mind for me. I'm thinking of the teams in the AFC. Bengals, Chiefs, Broncos for the orange and reddish, and then the turquoise would be Miami. Man, can you imagine if it's Buccaneers, Dolphins? NFL would not be happy with those ratings. Eric Peterson next up. How much cap do you project the Eagles having going into free agency? I can tell you right now. So, the Eagles right now are projected to have about $20 million in cap space. But I don't think that's counting the salary cap increase going north of $300 million. So if you count that salary cap increase, that's going to give the Eagles some more cap room. As of right now, for sure, $20.5 million. But with some contract restructures, the Eagles can, of course, open up some more cap dollars. Andrew Nathan, Chase, I think the Eagles should look into Isaac Seumalo in free agency and Mekhi Becton if cut. Also, we should move on from Cam Jurgens. Send him to Las Vegas for a 4th or a 5th. Kendall, Lampkin, Majors compete for center. I like Drew Kendall. I like Willie Lampkin. Jake Majors, I think, is more of a backup, but he is a smaller, athletic player who I really liked at Texas. You can't cut Cam Jurgens. I was looking at the cap numbers earlier. If you were to cut him, you'd have to eat a lot of dead money. If you could trade him, that could help you. If you want to trade him to the Raiders, that's a fit. You know, Sean Mannion did play under Clint Kubiak. Clint Kubiak comes from the Gary Kubiak, Mike Shanahan, Kyle Shanahan type of offense. So I think Jurgens would be a fit there. The Raiders did have center problems this past year. What was weird is that they didn't play Jackson Powers Johnson at center. They played him at guard, when I think JPJ is better at center. Seumalo, intriguing player. He's definitely not going to cost as much as he did when he got that big deal from Pittsburgh after the 2022 Super Bowl season for the Eagles. Mekhi Becton, if he's cut, I'm all in. I'm all in. I'd love to make that move, and I've been talking about that here on the show. Cole Raines, thoughts on maybe signing David Njoku? Yeah, David Njoku is another tight end who I like. Is he an elite blocker? No. Is he a solid blocker? Yeah. He's also a really good athlete at the tight end spot. If I were to rank the best players at tight end for the Eagles in free agency, I'd probably go Isaiah Likely 1, David Njoku 2. If you want to retain Dallas Goedert with the familiarity there, I mean, you can make the argument he would become number 1. But obviously he'd be a player who the Eagles would sign, who's more of an internal option. But it's a really good tight end free agency class. It's a really deep tight end class in the NFL draft. So you could bring back Goddard. You could sign one of these tight ends and then get a really good tight end day 3, potentially. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Thanks for getting those questions in for our mailbag. I always love talking Eagles with all of you. And keep it locked right here on Philadelphia Eagles Now.